She sat me in the kitchen. That's where I watched my only son get married through a swinging door behind a tray of shrimp cocktail I had paid for. My heart sank as I realized I was hidden away, my presence an afterthought in his new life. There was no place card with my name, no warm welcome, no chair at the front. Just a folding seat tucked beside the catering trays and a cart with a broken wheel that squeaked each time someone pushed it past me. That was my place. The mother of the groom, the one who footed the bill, forgotten behind the buffet line. Each squeak of that cart felt like a mocking reminder of my exclusion. I stood there for a moment, blinking hard. The smell of garlic and marinara clung to the air like regret. My dress, soft, mauve chiffon, hand-stitched, suddenly felt ridiculous. I'd spent hours at the salon that morning, pretending this day might be special for me too, but the mirror had lied, reflecting a hope that was never mine to hold. But no one had told me, not Andrew, not Emily, not a single soul said, "We've made other seating arrangements." No one looked my way when I arrived. Andrew didn't even meet my eyes. His gaze, once so familiar, now avoided mine like I was a stranger. He was too busy adjusting his cufflinks, smiling at Emily's mother like she had raised him, like she was the one who worked 2 jobs to pay for his braces and food. I clutched the small beige leather bag he gave me for Mother's Day years ago. My hands trembled, barely holding on to that last shred of dignity. Each tremble whispered of years spent sacrificing for his smile. A young catering manager, maybe 20, approached and said awkwardly, "Ma'am," they said, "you're supposed to wait back here." The bride didn't want any visual clashes with the theme. Her words cut deeper than any knife, branding me an unwanted flaw in their perfect day. I remembered that word theme echoing in my mind like I was a misplaced prop in someone else's perfect photo album. So I sat in that kitchen chair, feet sticking slightly to the floor, a dark stain beneath me. I didn't speak. I didn't ask questions. I didn't argue because it was Andrew's day, because I told myself not to ruin it, because I still believed that paying for everything meant I had a place in it. Yet every silent moment screamed that my love had bought me nothing but a shadow's role. I was wrong. 12 years of my life sacrificed weekends, broken relationships, holidays spent on job sites. That's what it took to raise Andrew. I was a nurse working back-to-back shifts just to keep a roof over our heads. Nights blurred into days, my dreams buried under his needs. There were years I couldn't afford a vacation, not even a proper birthday cake, but I gave him everything I had. And when he got engaged to Emily, I told myself I'd give him more. I opened my savings. I covered the venue, the catering, the flowers, the live band. Every single detail, every single upgrade, they came from my bank account. Even the dress Emily wore as she walked down the aisle. I paid for it with the last bonus I got before retirement. Each payment felt like a plea for his gratitude, a plea left unanswered. I thought it mattered. I thought being the one who built the foundation would mean I had a seat at the table, a moment, a thank you, a dance, something. Instead, I got a paper napkin on a chair next to a stack of dirty plates and a program with my name missing. I looked down at the church program again, printed on cream cardstock with cursive lettering. Her father walked her down the aisle. Her mother gave the first toast. My name was nowhere to be found, not even in the list of family members. The omission burned like a brand, erasing decades of my devotion. I wasn't mentioned at all, and yet I had been there for everything, scraping money together when he needed asthma medication, driving across town in the snow for school field trips, skipping meals so he could eat better. And now here I was, reduced to a silent figure behind a door, the woman who paid but never belonged. My sacrifices, once my pride, now mocked me from that crumpled program. I caught a glimpse through the kitchen door as the chandelier sparkling above Andrew and Emily as they shared their first dance. He didn't look at me once. His indifference stabbed deeper than any word could, a silent rejection. My hands curled around the linen napkin in my lap. I pressed it to my lips, pretending to blot away a non-existent stain. My eyes burned, but I told myself it was the onions in the kitchen, the steam, the heat, not the betrayal. But it was. It was the kind of betrayal that comes quiet, wrapped in politeness, dressed in pastels and Pinterest-perfect decor. It was exclusion with a smile that hid the truth. I was never part of their vision. Somewhere deep inside, something shifted, not snapped, just cracked like a hairline fracture in glass, silent, invisible to others. But I felt it deep in my bones. Because for the first time, I realized I wasn't invisible by accident. I had been written out deliberately, and I had let them. That realization ignited a fury I'd buried for years, quiet but fierce. Back at the hotel, I didn't sleep. I lay in bed, still in my mole dress, staring at the ceiling fan spinning like it might unhinge and drop straight onto my chest. Part of me hoped it would. My feet ached, swollen from hours, and heels I never got to show off. My hair smelled like kitchen grease instead of roses. I hadn't eaten. I couldn't. Around 3:00 a.m., I sat up and grabbed my tablet. The wedding budget file, neatly maintained for over a year, was still open. Every line item logged, every check sent, every extra Emily requested with her favorite word elevated. "We just want something a little more elevated, Margaret," she'd say, her voice dripping with charm that masked her greed, smiling tightly like her requests weren't slicing deeper with every call. That's how we ended up with custom calligraphy on the invitations. That's how the venue changed from the church rec room to a restored barn with chandeliers and a rustic whiskey wall. That's how the bar went from basic beer and wine to a signature cocktail menu. I paid for all of it. Each dollar spent was a piece of my heart, offered in vain. No one ever offered to split the bill. Not Emily's parents, not Andrew. And I never asked because I wanted Andrew to have the kind of wedding I couldn't dream of when I was his age. I thought giving that to him would matter. Then I saw the charges. They weren't on the original spreadsheet. 2 unauthorized charges popped up, both days before the wedding. A bar tab from a tasting event, a private dinner upgrade. The same restaurant where they sat me near the kitchen again. My trust shattered as I saw my card used like a blank check for their whims. My stomach twisted. I double-checked the card. It was mine, used without my permission. And then came the worst part of public Venmo transaction from Emily to one of her bridesmaids. The note read, "His mom is covering everything. Might as well go big. Wedding vibes." Those words seared into my soul, exposing their casual cruelty. I didn't cry, not this time. Instead, I stared at that screen, numb. My jaw clenched, my chest hollow. The trust I had carried like a second skin felt torn to shreds. They didn't just forget me. They used me openly, casually, like it was expected. Like I wasn't a person but a resource. And the realization stung more than any cold chair or cheap dinner plate. This wasn't just about the kitchen seat. It wasn't about the lack of flowers or the missing mention in the program. It was about the quiet assumption that I would give endlessly and expect nothing in return. Their entitlement gnawed at me, a betrayal deeper than exclusion. And for so long I had, until now. The sun was just beginning to rise when I made the first call. I sat at the small desk in the hotel room, the wedding program still crumpled in my purse beside me. The makeup I had worn yesterday smudged beneath my eyes. My hands hovered over the keyboard for a moment, then settled. The first message went to the florist. "Please cancel Sunday's delivery. As per our agreement, the remaining balance will not be issued. Thank you." The second. An email to the band. "We will not require your services for the post-wedding brunch. Please consider the matter closed." The third was to the bar vendor. "And we're scaling back. Cancel the second shift. Do not process the final payment." Each message was a reclaiming of my worth, a defiance against their disregard. Each message was short, polite, direct, and final. I didn't explain. I didn't apologize. I didn't offer excuses or soft landings. I wasn't looking for a refund or a fight. I just wanted one thing: to stop giving. For the first time in years, I felt still. My heart wasn't racing, my hands weren't shaking, there was no tightness in my chest, just a quiet hum inside me, like an engine that had stalled long ago suddenly coming back to life. I stood by the window and watched the sky change from bruised blue to soft gold. The city stirred, horns, lights, hotel guests rolling out with luggage and leftover joy. Somewhere across town, Andrew and Emily were probably waking up to breakfast trays and Instagram notifications. They didn't know yet. They didn't know the brunch they'd planned, complete with monogrammed croissants and floral centerpieces, would be nothing but a room of confused guests and a dry bar. They didn't know the music would stop before it began. They didn't know the woman they'd sat in the kitchen had taken back every part of their perfect day she had paid for. And in that moment, I felt a spark of power, a reclaiming of my stolen place, and I didn't feel guilty, not even a little, because I hadn't made a scene. I hadn't raised my voice. I hadn't ruined their vows or burst into their first dance. I had simply withdrawn, like a tide pulling away from a shore that had always taken and never given back. Let them wonder. Let them ask each other what happened. Let them try to trace it back to something small, maybe the seating, maybe a misunderstanding. Let them spin stories to comfort themselves. They'd never guess the truth, that the woman they treated like a shadow had quietly reminded them who made the light possible in the first place. I didn't go back to the wedding. I packed my things slowly, folded the dress I had once believed would see me through a joyful day, and checked out of the hotel without saying a word to anyone. The silence felt fitting, like an answer to the noise they had made without me. Back home, the house was still. The scent of lavender detergent lingered on the sheets. I moved through the rooms as if in a dream. Every photo of Andrew suddenly heavier on the wall. I went to the bedroom and opened the drawer I hadn't touched in years. Inside, under old insurance papers and expired coupons, was a red folder, one I had nearly forgotten about. It held bits of a life I had worked hard to build. But tucked inside, thinner than paper, was a letter, still sealed. The envelope was yellowed, the ink faded. I recognized the handwriting instantly. Michael, my ex-husband, dead nearly a decade now. The letter was dated 3 days before he passed. My hands trembled as I opened it. The first line was simple. Helen, I know you never wanted to hear from me again, but there's something I need you to know. My breath caught, dread pooling in my chest like ice. My breath caught. I've been carrying a secret, and I can't take it with me. You deserve the truth. Andrew isn't your biological son. Emily was already pregnant when we got back together. I thought I could pretend he was mine, but he wasn't, and neither of us ever told you. I stopped reading. The room tilted slightly. I had raised a child I believed was mine. Every scraped me. Every spelling test, every sleepless night. I had done it all, never knowing I wasn't chosen, just convenient. The truth clawed at me, rewriting every memory with its cruel revelation. I read the rest. Apologies, excuses, regrets. Words from a man who had walked away, but left behind the greatest responsibility of his life with someone who never had all the facts. And yet, I didn't cry because the tears had already been shed decades ago for 100 other reasons. This wasn't grief. This wasn't even heartbreak. This was clarity. Andrew had never been mine by blood, not even by accident, but I had made him mine through every meal I cooked, every bill I paid, every birthday party I stretched a paycheck to afford. I had passed every test I didn't know I was taking, and yet, when the moment came when he had the chance to say, "This woman made me," he stayed silent, let them seat me in the kitchen. He let the lie carry forward like it didn't matter who raised him, just who fit better in the family photos. His silence was a choice, a betrayal sharper than any truth. But I knew now. He didn't erase me because I wasn't his real mother. He erased me because it was easy, and that was the final betrayal, but also, strangely, the beginning of something new. Because when you've been forgotten by someone you gave everything to, and still survived, you realize you don't need their story. You get to write your own. I didn't tell anyone about the letter. I didn't need their shock or sympathy. I didn't want to be comforted for a truth I had already survived. So instead, I cleaned the house, quietly, deliberately. I took down every photo of Andrew. The baby pictures, his college graduation, the snapshots from birthdays I planned and paid for. I wrapped each one in old towels, labeled the box, memories, not obligations, and placed it in the back of the closet. That evening I made dinner for one, not leftovers, not freezer meals. A real dinner, lemon butter pasta with roasted cherry tomatoes and garlic, a dish I saw once on a travel show, but never made because Andrew hated tomatoes. I savored each bite, reclaiming my tastes, my choices, my life. I lit a candle while I ate, played soft jazz, set the table with a cloth napkin and the good plates, not because anyone was watching, not to impress, but because I wanted to. The silence in my home no longer felt like absence. It felt like honesty. How that weekend, I sent out 6 invitations. Not gold-foiled, no calligraphy, just lined yellow paper, and my handwriting steady even. I invited Claire, my friend from the ER who used to slip coffee into my lock, Mr. Henderson, my neighbor who always shoveled my sidewalk before I got to it, Dina from the bookstore who asked how I was and meant it, and Nurse Janet, who once stayed late on her own birthday to cover my shift. No one shared my blood, but every one of them had seen me. We gathered around the table I once used to fold laundry and help Andrew with math homework. Now it held wine glasses, pass bowls, laughter. It wasn't a wedding. It wasn't a holiday, just dinner. But for the first time in years, I sat at the head of a table I chose. Claire raised her glass at the end of the meal. To Helen, she said, for reminding us it's never too late to take your rightful seat. Everyone clinked glasses. And I laughed, really laughed. Not the polite kind, not the careful kind, the kind that came from the chest, the kind that tasted like liberation. That laughter was my victory, a sound louder than their silence, because this right here was family, not assigned, chosen, and I didn't feel erased. I felt seen by people who asked nothing of me but my presence. And in their eyes, I wasn't a forgotten mother or an invisible woman. I was someone worth sitting next to. The knock came just after noon. Not loud, not frantic, just steady, like he knew I was home, like he wasn't going to leave until I answered. I stood in the hallway barefoot, watching Andrew's silhouette through the frosted glass. It had been a week since the wedding. 7 days of silence for me, 7 days of unraveling for him. I opened the door slowly. He looked the same, but not really. The suit was gone. So was the glow. He wore a wrinkled t-shirt, dark circles under his eyes, his shoulders slightly hunched, like the weight of everything was finally catching up. "Hi, Mom." I didn't say it back. I stepped aside. He hesitated, then walked in. The house was clean, still. Sunlight streamed across the hardwood floor. The mantel was bare. Every photo of him had been taken down so his eyes scanned the empty spaces. "Where are the pictures?" I ignored the question. "Sit. Sit." He obeyed, sinking into the old armchair, the one I used to rock him in. "I didn't come here to fight," he said. "Good." He ran a hand through his hair. I don't understand what happened. One minute everything was fine, the next you're canceling everything, posting checks on Facebook. Emily's mom is furious. Everyone's asking questions. I stood, walked to the hallway closet, pulled out the box. I set it on the coffee table between us. "What's this?" "Receipts," I said. "Every payment, every vendor, every favor from the past 12 months. He looked at it but didn't touch it. Then I handed him the letter. His father's handwriting unmistakable. I didn't speak while he read. His face shifted from confusion to recognition to something quieter, regret maybe, or realization. "You knew?" he asked. "I do now," his voice cracked. "So, you're angry because—" "I'm not angry because you're not my biological son." I cut him off before he could twist it into something simpler. "I'm angry because I raised you. I gave you everything I had, and when the moment came to honor me, to even just acknowledge me, you let them shove me in the kitchen. And you said nothing. Your silence was louder than any vow you made that day." He dropped his gaze. I didn't think it would matter, Emily said. She thought it'd be better for the photos. I didn't think you'd be hurt. I let out a breathless laugh. Cold? Brief? No. Andrew, you didn't think. I picked up one of the now empty frames from the mantel. This used to hold a photo of your kindergarten graduation. You had marker on your shirt, a missing tooth. You ran off the stage straight into my arms. I placed it face down. I'm done holding on to versions of you that no longer exist. Those memories, once treasures, now felt like anchors I had to release. His eyes watered. I'm sorry. Too late, I said, and I handed him the box. These are yours now. Then I walked him to the door. He paused. You always said I was your whole world. I met his eyes. You were, I replied, and now I'm finally mine. Those words were my freedom, a declaration of my reclaimed self. Then I closed the door. The house was quiet again, but not empty, not heavy. It smelled like garlic and rosemary from the night before. The mismatched dishes still sat on the table. A wine glass sparkled in the sunlight. There was laughter in the cushions, warmth in the wood. None of it belonged to the people who once called me family. And yet, it all felt more like home than it ever had. I brewed coffee, sat on the porch, let the breeze roll over my bare arms as birds chirped in the garden I had once planted for Andrew. The roses were blooming wild now, untrimmed, unapologetic like me. Those roses, like me, thrived in their newfound freedom. I didn't check my phone. I didn't wait for another apology that would never come. Because here's the truth. You can give someone your time, your love, your life, and they can still choose to forget you. But that doesn't mean you have to forget yourself. I wasn't the woman in the kitchen anymore. I was the woman who paid for the building and took back the keys. The woman who turned silence into strength, who found a seat at her own table and filled it with people who saw her not as background, not as backup, but as the main story. This wasn't revenge. This was reclamation. And in that reclamation, I found a strength I never knew I had. And if you've ever been made to feel small, erased, used, then this story is yours too. To the mothers who gave everything and were told it wasn't enough. To the women who built the house and were asked to sit in the back. To the ones who stayed silent for too long, this is your sign. Take your seat at the head of your own table. Your worth is not their gift to give, it's yours to claim. If this story reached you, share it, comment, let your voice be heard, because silence is powerful, but so is being seen. And I, Helen, am seen at last.